No matter how big, how small the sculpture is, I would say about 70% of the work we do, we use a chainsaw. I push the chainsaw as much as I can. It's amazing. You can see how amazing level of finesse you can get from something as brute as chainsaw.
Now, why does the blowtorch make it look like that? Like I'm looking at it and it's a little bit, I'll just use the word like kind of cloudy, and then you hit it with that blowtorch and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the final tools that we use are so fine that in between the tool bit marks, snow gets inside. So we often do a finish with either water or blowtorch to get the true clarity, to really kind of basically melt down the snow particles that sticks to the ice.
Just, is this a whole car?
Yeah, that was a fun collaboration I did with Porsche. Um, and this was cool because I got to carve the replica of the sculpture, um, and then we blow torched it down to nothing. But then the director then played it backwards, so, as if the fire is what's making the sculpture. So
Oh.
that was his narrative, and gave me this concept, and I just thought it was so brilliant. Simple and direct, and really kind of turning itself.
So where do you get the ice from? Like, does it have to, is it a special kind of ice, or is it just, man, I just fill up, this is just regular old ice?
It is a special kind of ice. In my industry standard, there's the carving blocks. It's a crystal clear ice. It's crystal clear because it's free of any air bubbles that's trapped inside that would naturally happen when you're freezing still water. If you have a bucket of water in a freezer or below freezing environment, um, as is, you'll get very cloudy white ice, like ice you get in conventional freezer in your refrigerator, right? Those are tiny air bubbles that gets trapped inside because, in the process, basically, when you're freezing from all sides, the last place that freeze is the middle of your water. Clear ice happens where we have two things: one direction freezing, so it's not freezing from all around, but from for our machines. And our machine is not a special machine that we built, but it's an industry standard machine. But it freezes from bottom up, where there's only a coolant in the bottom, and all the rest of the sides just have insulations to kind of keep the temperature focused. So it freezes bottom up. And the second thing is moving water, agitating the water as it freezes. By freezing one direction, you're keeping the impurities and air bubbles on the surface of the ice as it freezes. And by moving the water, it kind of brushes the surface of the water constantly and releases the air bubbles as it goes. It's a slower process than freezing still water, so it takes about 3 days a cycle. An industry machine makes 2 blocks per machine usually. Each block is about 300 pounds, about a little over 40 gallons of water. Um, and I mean that's how you make it. I mean, it's often said that it kind of mirrors how lake ice is made.
So then when you work on the ice, like what temperature are you, like ideally, like you're trying to work on the ice in this temperature of a room?
There are two ways of carving that we all come across. We are either a wet carver or dry carver. Dry carvers are those who carve in the freezer or below freezing environment. Wet carvers are those who carve outside the freezer. My father, who taught myself and many of the carvers that have grown to become principal carvers for us at our studio, we all were taught as wet carvers first. There's a lot more variables to plan and think about because your ice is melting as you're carving. Now, clear ice is slow melting ice, much slower than kind of the conventional kind of cloudy white ice. Being clear of air bubbles means it's got least amount of surface areas. And the rate of melting, I mean, other than the temperature, is really the exposure to that surface where air can really react to the temperature more. So crystal clear ice is very slow melting ice, and even in the hottest days, in the above 90 degrees, it's workable.
Do you look at the fact that it melts as sad or what makes it special?
I certainly am in a camp of it being very special that it melts away. On a personal level, it's that practice of letting go for me that I really appreciate. It's I get to really focus on the process. The beauty of working with ice is not the fighting of it disappearing. It's really the embracing of it disappearing. That's what makes it special. It's really amazing when people see our work and be so amazed at how much work we put into something that's disappearing. And that gap really activates the sculpture and that I think the art experience like nothing else. A sculpture do.
Follow up that insightful and thoughtful answer with how do you get rid of it? Like, do they just let it melt? Do they just throw it in the bathtub? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, there's a lot of logistics there. There's definitely an art of its own in disposing ice. But essentially, it's about breaking it. And I think all of us who work with ice also find it incredibly liberating to break it away too. If anything, it's like this stress reliever,